And Anton, he is our IT.
Great. Hi, Anton.
So not just IT person, but still he's in charge of all the Zoom meetings. So
excellent.
Whenever you need some help, and I see that our students, you know, and they're from Russia and from US, they are only slowly joining us. So we will give them extra 5 minutes.
Sure, let's give them a few minutes here. And I'm just going to start my screen share just so we can have that up and work out any kinks with that. So let's see here. Okay, can you see that? Got my screen? All right.
Yes. And Jeffrey, I want to quickly introduce, you can see Marina. Sure. It's our lead instructor whom I introduced in one of our emails. So I see her in the screen and she's in Berlin right now. So
hi, Marina.
Hi, Jeffrey. Hi, nice meeting you.
Good to meet you too. Glad to be here. Glad we can do this, have a little chat.
Thank you for that. It's our pleasure. And where are you currently?
I'm in Denver, Colorado right now. Our offices, the Boomtown home offices are in Boulder, just about 30 minutes north of me. And then where we're doing our Comcast Sports Tech program is with the Comcast offices in Atlanta, Georgia. But our team goes all the way from New York to Silicon Valley, Houston and Boulder and Atlanta and all over the place. So we are all over.
I see.
Nice aerial shot.
Oh yeah, you like that? That's I'm a fan of that animation as well. It's a good one.
It's very interesting how popular this type of shots has become, because you know previously in cinema, and as an expert in film studies, so it was only in Hitchcock films, and usually we were analyzing these shots because they were he was the first one who started using them as a sign of alienation. So when he wanted to demonstrate that person is lost, he would use this type of shot, and now it's used everywhere.
Yeah, you know what this makes me feel. I appreciate the insight in that. I feel like Christopher Nolan uses this shot a lot. Like if you go look at The Dark Knight, there's a couple of these overhead shots in that one. It is an interesting sense of alienation. Well, so for some insight on this particular shot, this is from the Apple TV screensaver from about 5 years ago. Apple had about 5 screensavers of these loops. That's one of them. So anyway.
But most likely this type of shots, they do not mean alienation anymore. So I think the meaning, it's like vocabulary, cinematic vocabulary has changed. So right now it's something different to what the generation of Hitchcock had in mind.
Interesting.
Okay, so 2 more minutes. We will wait while our students are slowly.
Irina, we should do a film studies class as well.
Yes, I seriously miss this opportunity.
Me too.
You know? I seriously miss this opportunity, especially now, CIEE Study Center in St. Petersburg and Moscow, we always had students on site. And this is actually our first try of a virtual program. And we do not have students on site. And unfortunately, we do not expect them before spring 22.
Right, interesting. Hope we can all come back soon.
Yes, and while our students are joining us, Jeffrey, I just wanted to mention that we have students from very different time zones. So for example, I see some Russian students and they're from the areas where it's already 10 p.m. So for them,
Awesome.
this is like almost midnight entertainment.
Excellent.
Educational.
Sounds good. I'm a fan. Everyone can be in their pajamas and everything. It's morning for me, so I for one have coffee.
You mean when you say pajamas, you mean the lower part of our bodies?
Yeah, right, exactly.
And I know from Carter's letter that you've been to Russia.
Yeah, I've been working. I know Carter through my work with the American Councils for International Education, and I've hosted a Russian entrepreneur here in Colorado, and then I went to Russia 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, to do a small speaking tour and to meet some people. It was a great experience. I was actually supposed to go back last week and just didn't get the trip together because of COVID and visas and everything else, but hoping to come back soon. And hopefully you'll let me come talk to you again in person at some point in the future.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be great. Yes, and you will be able to use more of these beautiful shots.
I hope so. I'll have a new one.
Uh-huh. And I wonder, in the middle of the street, what we see, are these people, or it just in addition to cars? Yes, we see it to the left and to the right, and I cannot figure out whether these are moving persons or not.
I think they're people.
People.
It looks like we're going through Times Square in New York. And those are people. And to me, it looks like we're going north on Broadway. And I think this is 41st Street, 42nd Street we're getting to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think. I lived in Manhattan for 10 years. And I think that's, and I used to work on 42nd in Madison. So I think that's where we're getting to here.
Yeah, I was there 2 weeks ago. And Manhattan
Awesome.
is quite different from what it used to be. But strangely enough, Times Square is overcrowded as always.
As always. But you know, since the time I lived there years ago, I think in Times Square they've taken out a lot of the cars, right? So now it's a lot of people.
Yes.
But less traffic. Right.
Yeah. But New York is somewhat different. I cannot say that I disliked it, because fewer people is always good because you can see the city itself.
I know, it's great.
Okay, so I think that we can start. Marina, what do you think?
I think this is the perfect time for starting.
Okay, good. So just a couple of minutes. I will allow myself to introduce our today's guest speaker, Jeffrey Donenfeld. And when I was thinking how to introduce you, Jeffrey, it's not an easy task, but I think that Jeffrey is this unique personality that reminds me of a Renaissance man who combined so many different talents, and probably the line that he has MBA from the University of Denver Daniels College of School. I think it's probably, please, I hope you're not going to be offended by this, the least intriguing line. It's very important, but least intriguing, because what we can see, so Jeffrey is investment manager at Boomtown Accelerator, and actually he was hosting Russian businessman there. He is executive director of 4 North Ventures. The most exciting for me that he worked in the United States Antarctic program. This is my dream. One day I will be there, as probably many of us. And I think that today's multifaceted personality can be described as that he's blogger, reviewer, public speaker, and photojournalist. Yes, so I think we're lucky to have him presenting and giving a talk in our program. And Jeffrey, if you think that I should mention something else, probably you can add it yourself. So Jeffrey Donenfeld at our virtual exchange program.
Thank you. It's good to be here, and thank you for the introduction. It's wonderful to see everybody, and I'm happy to talk to you. All of those things were mostly true about me, and I appreciate all the credit. To clarify and add a little bit, just to give you some context on who I am for the purposes of this talk. You know, I've worked in Antarctica, I've worked in New York, I've done a whole bunch of different roles. Currently, and for the purposes of this talk, I'm investment manager at Boomtown Accelerators. We are an early stage startup accelerator program and venture capital fund. We've been working for about 6 years. We're headquartered out of Boulder, Colorado. And as investment manager, I run the process of finding and selecting the startups that we invest in. Basically, it's my job to look at applications, to understand what people are up to, and to talk on the phone and do Zoom chats with entrepreneurs, and just get entrepreneurs on the line and say, hey, how are you? What's going on? What are you up to? And why is that so cool? And why is that so interesting? I feel really lucky that that's my job, and I actually get paid to talk to interesting entrepreneurs from all over the world and just wrap my head around interesting new technologies all the time. Currently, with Boomtown Accelerators, we are in partnership with Comcast, NBC Universal, and you can see my virtual background here is the background I use for our business calls. We are in partnership with Comcast, NBC Universal, running an accelerator program for them called Sports Tech, and it focuses around sports technologies, everything from sports performance, athletics, training, all the way to sports broadcast and media, venue management, ticketing, network latency, all sorts of stuff like that. So anything that affects any aspect of the sports world, we work with startups on. And so my job is kind of half working with the small Boomtown team in running the accelerator, and half working with the larger Comcast corporate team in running this specific sports tech program, and all of and maintaining relationships with all of our partners and everything. Our main partner is Comcast NBC Universal, which is a huge publicly traded corporation, and then the sub partners within sports tech are right here. So that's a little background on currently what I'm up to. I wanted to talk today about entrepreneurship, and I have looks like I have 20 slides to get through, and I think we have 35-40 minutes to get through this. And I'm just going to talk to you about, you know, entrepreneurship, inspiration. I'll go through the accelerator model and what we do at Boomtown and Comcast Sports Tech, and how we think about that, as well as some other pathways for startups with funding and everything. And this is just kind of my view on things, sitting from my position and with my work experience. If you have other views or counterpoints, I'd love to hear them. Also, if you have any questions, I guess you can raise your hand in the Zoom. There's there's a little raise hand feature. I'm happy to call on you if you want to interrupt and ask a question. That's totally fine. No worries at all. You can also save your questions for the end. You can also chat the questions in the chat. I have a little chat window open on my second screen here, and I just kind of put some links in there as well for you. So happy to do that however you like. So entrepreneurship, it matters. This is an opportunity to go do whatever you want and find your inspiration and find your passion. It's your opportunity to help build the world and advance your vision of how the world and the future can be. I could spend 40 minutes on this entire slide in talking about entrepreneurship. You know, one of the things that I think about a lot is, you know, I make a salary, right? I get paid every month. I get to talk to entrepreneurs, which is great. But as an entrepreneur, you get to go out there and build something new and make it yourself. I really have a deep found respect and admiration for entrepreneurs like you who are going out there and building something. You could fail, you could spend all your money, you could do nothing with it, but you could do something great. And that's a huge leap of faith and a big thing to do, to put yourself out there. I talk to entrepreneurs every day who are, you know, spending lots of money and putting their family's welfare and livelihood on the line and spending a lot of time and really doing something. And it's so satisfying when it goes well, but no matter what, it's a deeply respected thing to do. And I think it's really great. You know, and then I know there's a question in terms of funding and investment opportunities for US and non-US startups. In terms of entrepreneurship and industries and trends and technologies, you know, I think that there's opportunities everywhere. And in terms of the industries and Russian versus US startups and startups from all over the world, first of all, we invest in startups from all over the world. It really doesn't matter. It really depends on the business opportunity and the team and everything. And I'll get into selection criteria again a little bit. And then I don't think necessarily it's the best idea to direct your entrepreneurial endeavors towards just an industry that, you know, a chart or a graph or a list says is going to be one of the industries of the future. I mean, we could talk about quantum computing or self-driving cars or cryptocurrency as, you know, industries that are really hot right now. But if you know nothing about it and don't care about it, but you're like, oh, it's going to make money, I don't think you're going to do well, and it's not going to be fun. I really think following your true inspiration, your passion, is really important. And don't be afraid to fail at that either. This slide, find your inspiration and share it, is really meant to talk about socializing your ideas, talking to your classmates. I mean, we're all on a Zoom. We can all talk about our ideas for startups and see what works, see what other people like, what seems to have traction, and what you're genuinely inspired to talk about, what really resonates with you. Let's see, how are we on time here? Okay, I'm going to try to finish this by 40 minutes past the hour, and then we'll take some time for questions. But feel free to interrupt. Socializing is one thing, your idea. Having a team is another thing, and we really look heavily at teams when we're thinking about investing. I think being a solo entrepreneur is a great thing. It's really, really hard. It can maybe be a good way to have the flexibility to pivot between lots of ideas in early stages, see what resonates and what sticks and what you can move forward on. But then getting a team together, I think, can be very, very important. And, you know, having a team of professionals behind you in the form of investors, mentors, advisors, accelerator staff like me can also be very valuable. Going through these slides quickly, but we'll try to get through a lot of stuff. So what does your startup need? There's a ton of different ways to think about this, and not all of them are the right way. Depends on where you want to be and what you feel like you really need. And there's a lot of different support structures out there, depending on what you think you need. If you just need cash, as you know, there's things like competitions. There's crowdfunding like Kickstarters, and there's pure venture capital and angel investors, right? If you need just support, there's things like incubators that will just give you a little bit of support and give you some resources and networking for you to kind of navigate on your own. There's co-working, which I really think is a good form of support. Even if it's getting an office, and I know I want to acknowledge things have changed with COVID, right? With pandemic, but hopefully we'll all be in a spot where we can get back to working in coffee shops and co-working sometime soon. I really hope. And just having other people around you to socialize ideas with and be inspired by can really help. If you need both, there's a couple pathways. Angel investments, VC funds that have teams of strategic advisors can be super important and keep you moving forward and help you use the money that they're giving you in the right way. And then from my perspective, if you need even more support than that, doing something like an accelerator can be very valuable as well. An accelerator like Boomtown, who I work for, and within the Comcast Sports Tech program, but there's others out there. 500 Startups is a big one, and then GAN, the Global Accelerator Network, is an organization that we are members of that runs accelerators or supports accelerators all over the world. They can offer a ton of support, and that's going all the way from figuring out your team, your marketing, your finance, where you need to go, your funding, and then helping you with advisors, with getting funding, and with taking next steps and moving down the road. It sometimes costs a little bit more in terms of equity, but it's a lot more hands-on and hand-holding. So it really depends on where you want to go. So in terms of scalability, we really look at how startups can scale and how close they are to getting to that expansion stage. One of the things in terms of venture investing and technology is we look at the likelihood that curve is going to be going up and up in terms of scalability. Companies that are saying, we're just going to sell this one thing and we just want to get it on retail shelves, not as interesting to us as companies that say, we're going to make this suite of products or these services, and it can blossom into this whole universe and keep scaling without an equal increase in manpower, are much more interesting to us. So let's see. As you're reaching out to VCs, these are just a couple little tips, do's and don'ts. And I get this a bunch. This is for pure VC funding, not necessarily for accelerators. And I get outreach all the time from people just looking for cash, and we do have a funnel for just cash. Know who you're talking to, right? Do the research on the VC. Cold emails and social media messages that are copy and paste, that aren't personal messages, really don't go anywhere. I get a ton of those. I never look at them, but having a personal connection, doing the research and knowing who you're talking to goes a long way. It's my impression and my experience that paying money to get in front of investors isn't totally necessary, and that you can get in front of investors by just doing events and getting out there and socializing. And some of these pay to pitch events can be dubious sometimes. And then, you know, especially now that we're all on Zoom and everything is recorded, having a nice tight presentation, being able to present well, and have, you know, look good and have a good presentation that's nice and tight, it can be really important. We were talking about this yesterday. We were advising one of the teams in our cohort, and somebody said, don't waste a slide. Make sure every single slide is very important. If you think I'm wasting slides here, please let me know. I would be open to the feedback myself. And as you can see from my slides, I try to keep them just pictures because I just want to talk to you. So there you go. In terms of accelerators, you know, an accelerator is a very, very involved program. So when you're going to be entering the program, and I'll go over our accelerator program a little bit here, but when you're going to be entering a program, know what you're getting into, plan ahead, plan the time. Our program is 3 months, and we have things booked pretty much every single day for those 3 months. I mean, I'm missing the second half of a call right now to be here with you, which I'm glad to do. But you know, days are packed with advising and strategy sessions, and you really, to get the most out of an accelerator, you've got to be present for that. With an accelerator, you're constantly pushed on why are you doing this, and why is this great, and why should we continue to spend time with you. So know about your competition, know what you're doing, and also don't be afraid to ask questions and say, I don't know, like, let's figure this out, right? So yeah, and then the other thing with an accelerator is, and I can't stress this enough, especially now that we're all remote on Zoom, it is be social and get into the cohort. If you're going to do an accelerator program, get into socializing with people. We have an hour-long 360 chat every week with the Boomtown Comcast Sports Tech program. That's just meant to connect people socially. We actually don't even do it in a Zoom anymore. We do it in a program called Sophia, which is like a little online virtual world where you can walk up to people and initiate a video chat. We try to keep it very, very social. Last week, we had an hour-long discussion about what our superpower should be. Okay. The accelerator model with the Boomtown Accelerators program. First of all, we don't run the same program twice, especially now that we're running the Comcast Sports Tech program. We have changed it significantly, and we change it significantly every time. These are some basics from the hardware and connectivity program that we did in partnership with Cable Labs and Comcast Labs. The bones for the Sports Tech program are very similar, but tweaked a little bit. We provide a little bit in cash. We provide a good amount of perks and services, about $1.7 million in perks and discounts and everything. We provide a lot of mentorship, a lot of experience guidance from specific trainers and experts in the industry. Access to our alumni. We've done, I think, 12 or 13 cohorts, and we keep the alumni group really tight. Actually had to shut down Slack before getting on this call because our alumni channel on Slack is vibrant, and it's awesome keeping everyone in the loop and continuing to connect people. We actually do have a hardware lab in Boulder and in Atlanta, and when we're in person, we love for startups to use that. Now that we're not in person, that doesn't get used as much, but now that we're working with sports tech startups, we're starting to use arenas and stadiums and racetracks as the hardware lab for us, which I think is a pretty cool opportunity. Mentors, advisors are some of the best. It's always inspiring to be on calls with them, and it makes me feel like I have no idea what I'm doing when I get on the phone and listen to what our mentors and advisors say. And then finally, with our program, you do a pitch at a demo day, which is exposure to the public, to investors, to more advisors, to just taking your next steps, and a really good push for getting your act together, being able to talk about your startup with lots and lots of people, and moving forward to the next step. So yeah, in terms of the flow, you know, we go through applications, long rounds of selections. We make a small equity investment. You know, we think about pilots, we do demo days, and then continue to try to support our companies for the foreseeable future. Let's see. There was a question that I was forwarded about, you know, what specifically convinced me to invest money in a particular startup. I have to say, the first thing that we really think about is the team and the founder. It matters a lot. And then additionally, and I'm gonna change this question a little bit. The question that I was forwarded was, what convinced me to invest money in a particular startup? I think what's more appropriate is what convinced me or my group to start working with the startup. Not necessarily just invest money, but to really bring them in with us and commit time and resources to working with them. The team is really important to that. If we were just going to invest money, didn't really care, we might just look at the hard numbers. You know, how much they're going to scale, right? What their total addressable market is, what their MRR projections are, et cetera. But really what we're looking at is what it's going to be like to work with them on the long term, and maybe invest a little bit now, maybe invest a lot later, but really commit our time and our team to working with them. And we think about team, how creative they are, you know, what kind of grit they have, what kind of cohesiveness they have as a team. And importantly, what kind of intellectual honesty they have. I get on calls sometimes with entrepreneurs who have a very tight pitch deck, and think they have all the answers and just want me to sit and listen to their pitch and understand that they know everything. And that doesn't always go well, and it doesn't always resonate. What really resonates is founders who can come on and maybe show me a deck with a couple essential slides, but mostly can get on the phone with me and talk about what they're up to. And when I say, so how are you going to solve this? Like, there's this huge competitor, what are you going to do here? Be able to say, maybe, that's a good question. I don't know yet. We think we have really solid technology, but it's not yet developed enough to know exactly how we're going to take over competition or address these issues, right? To be able to know that they don't have all the answers and they want to work with us. That kind of honesty really resonates, and those are the people we want to talk to, right? You know, having a thesis for why you're doing your startup resonates a lot for us. Being able to say, this is why, you know, we feel like this pathway forward, or this product or service is important. There's a lot of unknowns, but the core thesis is important, right? Just saying, you know, someone else is doing this and we think we can replicate it or copy it in a different market, doesn't really resonate as much as saying, hey, there's a real, you know, we see in 15 years, humanity is going in this direction. And this thing that we're working on is a small part of shaping that reality, shaping that future reality. Those kind of things resonate. In terms of stage for us, the Accelerator, we are seed stage. So we're looking at companies that have an idea, maybe have a prototype or demos, proof of concepts, right? And can show us something, but aren't ready to launch commercially yet. And can really be open to talking with us and moving on things and changing things around. We've certainly had startups in the current Accelerator, the current class and past classes, that have come in and done one thing, and at the beginning and then said, oh, wait, you know what, actually, like, we think we want to change that all around. And they've been really open to our feedback and completely orienting in a different direction because they're not too far down one road. And that's something we really appreciate. In terms of location, you know, I'm in Denver right now. Irina, I know you're in Chicago, and people are all over the world here. We invest in companies and we work with companies from all over the world. Typically with our cohorts, it's about 1/3 United States, 1/3 from North America, and about 1/3 from the rest of the world. We work with about 10 to 12 companies at a time. But I think if you looked at our deal flow funnel, that's about how it would break out. And for example, we looked at over 1,000 companies for the current cohort and picked 10. So that's kind of the numbers that we look at. Yeah, you know, we're big on mentorship. We're big on networking. We love connecting with mentors and connecting our startups with engaged mentors. We have a huge mentor funnel of hundreds of mentors and have a fairly robust system for keeping them in the loop with us and keeping them connected. We don't just have mentors that are on our list that we could call, might not. We keep mentors who are going to be actively engaged and really have something contribute and really want to help the startups out. Not mentors who are just looking for investments or just looking for ideas. You know, we really like mentors who are give first and want to give back to our community and really help out and help build the community. They ask hard questions, and we expect our startups to push them equally hard. One thing just on a more functional thing, and I have a quick note about this that I feel like really helps me in terms of startups staying connected with mentors, is sending frequent updates. Is really important. If there's a weekly or a monthly email that you connect with your mentors and advisors on, just say, hey guys, this month was great for us. Here's 4 bullet points on here's what we did and here's what we're looking forward to doing next month. It helps keep up with you so much better, and helps keep those ideas flowing and keep people engaged. I love doing that. I'm going to try to play a video here about Comcast Sports Tech, just because I thought that might be interesting for you to see. This is just a quick trailer about what we were up to specifically with Sports Tech, to break it up, because I'm sure you're all a little tired of hearing me talk about slides. So let's see if this works.
The Sports Tech Accelerator is a vehicle by which all future founders in the sports tech world will want to bring their innovative ideas to share with the rest of the globe.
When you think about what Comcast is and the technological innovation that it's developed, it's just a really unique opportunity for any company that's focused on developing technology or innovative solutions for sports.
Founders will instantly have access to an unprecedented amount of mentors that will help their idea take life.
When you bring in our league partners, you don't see these kind of opportunities come by for most entrepreneurs.
You know, what interests us most about being part of the Accelerator is developing partnerships. Somebody that's passionate about solving difficult problems.
We can identify partners that have a good idea and have a good level of passion. Then I think what we want to do is put the NASCAR brand behind it and NASCAR resources behind it and grow it together.
I think we bring a lot of credibility, not only attracting startups, but actually integrating them into our business and helping them evolve and grow.
We'll take the best and brightest of the possible ideas, we'll bring them into the Accelerator. In 3 months, that entrepreneur will get an entrepreneurial MBA, and you can see the bounce in their step and the confidence level that their idea really is going to work and is going to see the light of day, and that's very cool to be around.
We will help companies find opportunities inside of the broader Comcast ecosystem, and then ultimately, we hope it leads to long-term partnerships or perhaps acquisitions.
I think it's important for Comcast to be at the front end of this because nobody in the world distributes broader, more sports than Comcast NBC Universal. the fact that we own professional sports teams, we're in e-gaming, we're in over 140 venues around the world. We are the most logical person to bring forth this consortium and do what we're about to do.
There you go. It's a lot of lofty claims in there. Sometimes it makes me a little nervous because I'm like, wow, they really sold this. Now we've got to stand up to it. Exit strategies for startups. There's a million different ways you can go. And I feel like we are open to all of this. We're not looking to exit companies immediately. We're looking to support you through the lifetime of your company. And you know, especially with an accelerator, it's something where we sign on for the long-term prospects of the company. We're not, you know, major cash investors, and are not looking for you to have an exit or a liquidity event immediately. It does happen, and our portfolio is doing well, and we've had some awesome companies exit. But that's not something that we push for immediately. So there's a bunch of different ways to exit. I can talk to you about any of those. And kind of in closing here, and I was asked about my recommendations for aspiring entrepreneurs at an early stage. You know, I really think that there's no template for entrepreneurship. I think it's an opportunity to follow your passion and what you're inspired by, and to try something new that's never been tried before. Especially if you're young, it's an incredible opportunity to just to go do something crazy that nobody has ever done before, that you don't think is possible, and maybe to fail, maybe to succeed, but try something great. I mean, there's no time like the present, and you know, you've kind of already raised your hand on this by doing this class and this, you know, this course. And I think it's an amazing opportunity. In terms of passion and business ideas, I think that you should go with what your passion is, and what you would feel like doing every day for the rest of your life would not be work, right? Like you know, Irina at the beginning introduced me and noted that I worked in Antarctica, right, for the United States Antarctic Program. I'll just connect that to what I'm doing now a little bit. I feel like it's kind of a cool connection. You know, I actually, my main job for my first season at the South Pole was as a cook. I cooked food for people. I did the lowest job that I could do because that's the job I could get. But what it got me is it got me to the South Pole. It let me, first of all, contribute to the Antarctic program and help out, you know, supporting that general program, which I like, which I really appreciate, supporting exploration, science, technology, discovery. It also got me close to scientists and researchers and you know, people doing interesting things and learning more about the world. And it let me ask them questions and understand what they were up to, and you know, see how I felt about that and help out a little bit. My second season on the ice, I actually got to go work directly for a science team and for the National Science Foundation funded team through the University of Wisconsin. So I was actually working within that team, but I got to work with more like real scientists. And I love doing that. I love asking questions and getting into things. And now with my job currently, I get to ask questions to startup founders about science and technology and tech startups, and understand what you guys are up to as entrepreneurs. And I feel that like that's a passion of mine, is asking these questions, and I'm really lucky to be able to do that professionally. So finding the thing that you want to do that is your true passion is a great thing, and you can create it yourself. So there you go. That's all I have for you today. Here's a quick slide if you want to follow me or hit me up. We've got a few minutes. I think we've got like 15 minutes. Any questions, comments, requests, jokes?
So I have a question.
Yes, Emil.
I have, I have I don't have any experience in launching a business from the very beginning. And it was really interesting to listen about these accelerator programs. So could you please explain to us the way one can enter this kind of program, like a step by step?
Sure.
From the very beginning. Yeah,
from the very so in terms of entering our specific program from the beginning on a functional level, the first thing you need to do is apply to the program. If you go to boomtownaccelerators.com or comcastsportstech.com, I put both of those links in the chat. It looks like that's the most recent message in the Zoom chat. There will be an apply link that'll take you to F6S, which we use to manage our application, and you can apply to our program. That application comes directly to me and two other members of my team, and we will look at it. And if we feel like we want to move forward, we'll set up a call. If you do apply, please note that we already met for this, and send me a personal email. My email address for Boomtown is there on that slide. Just so I can make sure to look through my crazy email and pick your note out, your application out, give it a second look there. But that's the first step. After that, if we like what you're up to, we'll schedule just a one-on-one chat just to talk about your idea. And then if you move forward from that, the next step will be getting a little bit more information and everything, and then doing a pitch with myself and the rest of my team and some of our executive team members, and that goes on. And then we'll do final selections and hopefully let you know about the program acceptance as far in advance as possible. The next program starts February 2022, so in a little less than a year, and we try to notify startups like November or so before the holiday slowdown begins. That said, if you don't even have an idea yet for your startup, try stuff. And then when you apply in 5 years or whatever it is, coming to us and starting the conversation by saying, for the past 5 years, I've failed at 3 different startups. Here's all these ideas. Here's why they failed, and here's what I learned from it. Now I'm trying this, and I think it's going really well. I think I've got something here, and I want to work with you guys to take it to the next level. That's such a great place to start. So yeah, and also with that, I'd say that if you think you have something that it might work, it might not work, and you want to apply anyway, we're happy to see your application, and we're happy to see your application and give you the feedback that yeah, I think you're a little early. I think you need to work on this. Let's continue to talk and to talk to you for a couple of years until you're at the right stage.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question.
Yes. Yeah, go for it.
Hello. So you were talking about a team as one of the most important things for an entrepreneurship. Do you think that if I'm going to do it by my own, create my idea by my own, does it mean that I'm going to fail? Or do you know any examples of successful business by one person?
So
at the beginning, at least.
If you go out on your own, it certainly does not mean that you're going to fail. In fact, starting on your own can be a great way to start, because you can have absolute flexibility. You can try an idea for a week and then say never mind, and then try a different idea, right? And see which one actually gets some traction. And then once you kind of figure out what might actually work, start talking about building a team and everything. Additionally, I mean, there's a startup that's in our program right now who's essentially a solo founder, and he's kind of brought people on to work with him as a CEO and a CFO and a CMO, like an executive officer, a financial officer, a marketing officer. and it's been a learning curve, and it's great that he's bringing people on, and as his idea gains traction, he's bringing people in, and so we're happy to do that too. But even, you know, when you apply to our program and when we start talking, if you're a solo founder, it really does help to have a team, or it helps to be able to say, yeah, you know, it's just me, but I'm working on a team, and here's the 3 positions I need, and here's exactly why I need them. Here's who I'm thinking about, right? To have some sort of view towards that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Of course. We've got 10 minutes.
I have a question on that too. So firstly, thank you for all the information you provided us. It was especially helpful in case of understanding the investors' psychology and the process of funding. And when a founder just starts a company, is it always better to start with the direction, not with the team? Or in some cases, it's better to firstly make up the team and then trying to get direction things?
That's a good question. I think it starts with the inspiration, and I think you should go with what makes the most sense in the moment. That said, I don't necessarily think that. I think that idea is a big part of it, and having that that view for the future and some real inspiration in why you're going to do this. Sometimes the ideas that don't resonate as far and don't make it as far are from teams where it's, you know, it's a salesperson and a CEO, and they're out there just trying to sell something, right? That may be a copy or a replication of something that's already happened. It doesn't make it as far as teams that come to us and they have real inspiration or real technology, you know, that's new and novel, and they're building a team to support it. Or they're a team that's been together and now they found something new and novel. So yeah, that's kind of my answer on that. I'm sorry it's not more specific or definite, but there you go. Let's see, Juanita, did you have a question?
Hi, yes. First and foremost, I wanted to say thank you for that message. I personally needed to hear that, just to take risks and start new things and just get out there and start. So my question to you is, when it comes from a funding standpoint, what if you have like all these great ideas, but you don't necessarily have the team or the funds?
Mm-hmm. It's a tough place, but I think if you have the idea, you have to start socializing it and starting small. I mean, you know, we started small as Boomtown, and there's a lot to be said for bootstrapping and working, you know, doing what you can without the cash, making it happen yourself, getting as far as you possibly can, and then, you know, maybe doing a little friends and family, right? Funding, but I also think it's worth, you know, doing a very specific analysis of what you need the money for and why, and is there a way to do it or to prove the concept without necessarily getting all the money you think you need. We have this happen all the time with our startups. Companies will, you know, when they first talk to me, they'll say, okay, we need, you know, when I'm talking about their future, et cetera, they'll say, we need $10 million to take the next steps, right? Here's what we need to do. And then when they enter the program, by the middle to end of the program, they'll pivot and say, actually, we only need $1 million. And here's what we're going to do with every dollar of that. We know exactly what we need to do, and we figured it out. And we don't need nearly as much, and we don't need to dilute ourselves as much. And so I think that a lot of times startups do think that they need so much money, and they don't actually need as much, just even to get the ground floor steps set up. The other concept that I'm kind of a fan of as kind of a growth hacker is the Wizard of Ozing kind of thing, where you're pulling strings behind the scenes. So if you have a web service that's supposed to do something, and you know how it's going to be developed, but it hasn't been developed yet, doing things behind the scenes manually and kind of faking it till you make it, just to demonstrate the concept, I think can go far. That doesn't mean that you should fraudulently pitch things, right? Or not actually have the technology there, right? Don't do that. But being able to demonstrate what you will do in the future can be convincing. Yeah. What else?
Thank you.
Maria, I saw you come on video.
Yeah. I have a question regarding your work in Antarctica.
Sure.
So my question is, what does the biggest inconvenience for you there? And what was the thing that you missed the most there?
Oh, okay. Antarctica questions. Sweet. I love those. The biggest inconvenience for me there, I don't know. I mean, I could cite a million things. I could talk about ridiculous logistics with flying with the US Air Force, weather, it's cold, the food isn't always amazing. You can take 1-minute showers, but and this is a totally different life and a different topic, but I'm happy to talk about it. The thing with inconveniences in Antarctica, which I really, really loved and appreciated, is everyone is there to support science and technology and everything that's going on, and support the program, right? And we're there on a mission. And so those inconveniences, when it's freezing or the weather shut down your flight and you've got to wait at McMurdo for another day, that's just part of the process and part of supporting things. And you've really got to appreciate that we're all in this together and we're doing it together. And we just deal with it. Like weather sucks. That's fine. Deal with it. Like the food is not great today. It'll be okay. We've got a bigger mission. It's bigger than us. So I can say that. I will say that my second year on the ice, I had to live in a tent for a couple weeks at around -40 degrees on the snow and ice. And so sometimes when you have to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, getting yourself out of a little sleeping bag where you're warm and going out in -40 degrees to walk to an outhouse is kind of a pain. What was the other question? What do I miss about it? Miss the sense of mission. I think was an interesting thing, and then just being able to work with all of these people who everybody's a little weird. Everyone's there for a reason, and it's like a big team and a big family. So there you go. I can also, I will put in the, let's see, where's the Zoom chat here? Let's see. There in the chat, there's a little link to my website to a specific Antarctica section. Now everyone's going to click and we're all going to go away. Okay. I think we have time for like one more question here. Anyone else have one more?
Yes, I have. Just from the point, just from the investor's point of view, what is the best strategy of building a team on the early stage? I mean, you have two options to get in the team everyone who is inspired with your idea, just ready to work, seems like ready to work, or just get one of those who are top or something.
It really, it's a good question. We talk about this all the time. I really appreciate that you're thinking hard about these details. These are little nuances that do matter. If you have the option, right? And you don't always have the option here, but if you have the option, working with your core friends, the people who are really with you on the idea and believe in it, I think is the best way to go. I think that's really important. I gotta turn my notifications off for another hour. that's the most important thing. And even if like the three friends of yours who you're working on this with aren't professional CEOs and a professional CFO, right? But they're passionate with you. I think building your team that way is the way to go, because you get the passion out of it. In my view, you can, once, if you've got that, that's the best, and then you can build the rest of the team. Say you take a big financing round and you really get a big partnership and you need to scale it up, then you can start shopping for and maybe hire a marketing officer or a real CFO, right? I think having the passion is the hardest part, and if you can, you should go with that. Also, if you do need to hire people or get people, new people that are not your core friends to work with you, and you're pitching to an accelerator like us or to a VC, having them really on board and not just joining the call for 10 minutes and saying, yeah, I'm helping out, like I'm not, I have another day job, but really having them really involved goes a long way. It's usually kind of stops the conversation sometimes for us when a founder gets on the call and they say, yeah, and this is our CFO here, and the CFO is like obviously in an office at another job doing something else and is just trying to help the founder out. It doesn't go as far as someone who's like, yeah, like we're working together, we just met, but like we're going to do this and it's going to be great. And maybe that means that you take another year to develop that relationship and really start working together, but I think that can go a long way. So that's all my time that I have today. I really appreciate your time and listening to me for close to an hour here. Again, email address is all in there in the chat. Hit me up anytime. I'm always happy to talk. And if you do apply to our accelerator or are going to apply to another accelerator program and want some feedback on your application or anything, I'm happy to give feedback anytime.
Thank you very much, Jeffrey, for practical and inspirational talk.
Sure thing, no problem. All right, guys, I'm just going to sit here all day. I'm going to flip over to my next Zoom. We are doing a meeting with NASCAR and one of our startups, and talking about how their technology can be used on racetracks. So that will be an interesting talk. It's the thing we get to talk about.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much, Jeffrey.
All right. See ya.